the UK has the second biggest pool in the world of long-term capital. And you're not investing it in your own stock market. So I don't get that.
We're very modest people. We don't like to keep it all to ourselves. It's crazy, isn't it? It's just crazy.
It's just crazy.
In today's episode, I'm joined by Mark Warrior, an experienced professional investor who previously worked with companies such as Mercury and BlackRock and is now focused on investing in public and private companies. We have a fascinating conversation with Ami Daniel, the co-founder and CEO of AIM-listed Windward. Windward is a 14-year-old company that provides B2B data and software solutions. It helps governments and businesses track, manage, comply with, and protect maritime assets worldwide. Its solutions provide awareness and insights into what Ami calls the problem of big oceans and small ships. Windward listed on AIM in 2021 and is currently valued at about £120 million. Ami is a high-energy entrepreneur, having survived a near-death experience while serving in the Israeli Navy in 2006. He has established Windward as a high-growth, recurring revenue company with a large addressable market. Ami is one of life's optimists and a joy to chat with. In this episode, he discusses the challenges of running an unprofitable growth company, how being told no is only temporary, the importance of building resilience, and why listing in London has been such a positive move for him and the business. It was great having Mark's experienced approach to guide Ami through the key pillars of Windward's investment case and paint a picture of what Windward could become as it approaches profitability and reinvests in its rapidly growing platform. I must remind you that this is for information purposes only. None of what you hear in this episode is investment or any other type of advice, and the views expressed are purely those of the contributors and not the views of Progressive Equity or any other organisation mentioned in this podcast. Please enjoy our conversation with the maverick, Ami Daniel.
Brought to you by Progressive Equity.
So Ami, hi, thanks for joining us. Just really wanted to start with finding out a bit about you. What was home life like? What was growing up for you in Israel, I believe?
Diving straight into it. Whoa, what was it like growing up? Yes, I grew up in Israel. I was born in a city called Haifa, which is beautiful, just by the Mediterranean. Unfortunately, when I was 7 or so, my dad got a bit ill. So my dad had me when he was 52. It was his second marriage. And my mom is 20 years younger than him. But when I was 7, when she was 59, he discovered he had Parkinson's disease, which is not the best thing to have, I think. So I think that really influenced my upbringing, I would say. It makes you a bit more an adult when you're 10, I think, than you're supposed to be. I have a 10-year-old. She's not an adult. She's a kid. You know, she enjoys life. She goes to drama class. She doesn't take care of things. I took care of things. So I think that really influenced that. At some point, when I was like 8 or 9, whatever, I went to the gifted class theme, which is like the top 1%, whatever, top 1%, top 2% was the kids in the country. And by the time I was 16, I said, I really need to be the best at something. Because I wasn't the best at math. I'm okay, but they're smart people, I guess. So I kind of ended up becoming the best at volunteering, as absurd as it sounds. And I did 1,500 hours of social service when I was in the 10th grade. So when you're 16, that was year 10 and year 11 and year 12.
You're a very communitarian-minded teenager.
Correct.
Okay.
So I ended up being a medical clown. It was also my side gig. I used to work as a clown.
A clown?
Yeah. In Independence Day, you do a lot of, making kids dance and stuff on stage. It's also part of being a CEO. You need to be on stage a bit. So I did it really on stage during Independence Day.
Have you always been an extrovert, Ami?
I think so.
I would say you project a very energetic personality. I would say you come across as one of life's extroverts.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an extrovert, yeah. I don't shy a lot. But also I think it's about, I'm a happy person. I love to build. I'm an optimist. I'm an entrepreneur. There's so many reasons like to doom scroll your way to death today.
Yeah, absolutely.
We ended up building a social project, a community center, Jewish Orthodox community center. It was very successful. It won multiple international awards. We raised about $1 million for it from the Clure Foundation here in London. So it's from thinking about the idea. It was like a disempowered community to building the community center, to thinking about it, to writing the programs, to raising the money, to finding the building, to doing the architecture. I was 16, right? So did all that, cut the ribbon. I think it was great. And I think I was fortunate enough to practically be awarded every excellence award in the country until I was 19.
That's amazing.
So up until the chief of staff and the president award, which I won twice. So I think that's that type. And then I joined the Navy because that's what you do when you're 18 in Israel. It's mandatory. It's not a question. So I volunteered and did extra. So I did 3.5 years of additional service. So I did overall almost 6.5.
6.5 years. Okay.
I was a naval officer. So just the training is like a couple of years.
Were you always destined to be doing something associated with the oceans?
When you grow up in the city, like you grew up straight ahead of the sea. It's all about that. Like here, we live in London now. I don't have a sea view.
You don't see the sea, no.
I can see the Thames.
Okay.
It doesn't make me want to swim in it.
I think it's probably cleaner than the Seine. I swim in the Thames, but a bit further upstream than where you are now.
Yeah, here in Blackfriars, would you swim here? I think you would grow a tail.
Well, the tide is what gets you, I think.
I think you would grow a tail if you do it here. Anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know if I was destined for that, but I think I learned to be motivated to be the best in building something. For good or bad, by the way, that's what led me here. I want to be the best in what I do. I want to build. I want to win. I want to figure it out. I want to solve problems for my customers. I speak to customers a day. I believe as people, we're never finished products. And I think the company's never finished products. And I think I need to be an optimist and builder to do that.
So what in that journey where we've got you to your 6.5 years serving in the Navy, where did you meet your co-founder for Windward, or where did you germinate the idea for what Windward is today?
On the ship.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course on a ship, Okay. That's the story. You meet on the ship. It was just the sun was going down and we're like holding hands. I'm kidding. We're both naval officers. He landed on a helo on my ship many times. He actually taught me how to land helos, which this is a podcast without video. Otherwise, I would have shown you how. So I've landed like thousands of times helos on the deck. I was a deck officer. And in 2006, my ship got hit by a missile. 4 people dead and 12 wounded. So it's quite the event, I would say. And it was the first time since like 1970 something, a ship gets actually hit by a missile, like a warship.
I think we did some of that in the Falkland Islands, didn't we?
Oh, you did. That was the last attack.
Yeah.
In Argentina, they would call them Malvinas. You have customers in Argentina.
Okay. Yes.
I spoke to them about the Falklands and they almost chopped my head off. Anyway, so I think that was really defining, it was a near-death experience. I was like 2 seconds away from being vaporized, right?
Yep. Focuses the mind.
So I think that really defines who you are. And I think that's where my co-founder and I also bonded. He was first officer to meet us on deck back in port. So we know each other from back in the day. And I think when we both left the Navy, this was like the first days of ship transmissions called AIS transmissions, like safety transmissions people used to not collide with each other. And I had some ideas about what we could do that in the Navy, but I think I was probably a decade ahead of myself in terms of what the Navy could take in. So we ended up thinking about what do we want to build. And for good or bad, we went out to build a company that brings visibility to the oceans. Through that journey, which is quite long, it's like 14 years now, right? We've learned to be experts in our verticals. I can virtually walk into any one of my customers and I'm at their level of understanding their business. If it's like an energy company or if it's a government or if it's a logistic company, I can drill it out with any C-level executive on what's their main issues. And I think that's very hard to do. In my view, everything we've done so far was a preparation for this moment where generative AI already came into the world. And I know some people are a bit cynical about generative AI. In my view, they're cynical from a macro perspective. They're not cynical from a practical product perspective. It's very different. They're cynical in terms of, oh my God, how will Microsoft and Magnificent Seven make $400 billion more to make up for their valuation? I don't know. I don't care. I don't need to make $400 billion. I just need to triple my company. Okay. Just leave me alone. So will it help you triple your company faster? The answer is absolutely yes. And I think that's a discussion we should be having.
Yeah.
We'll definitely come back to AI because that's a thread that goes through the business in the future. But, let's go back to the beginning and the basics of
Sure.
Windward. And What was the problem that you were trying to solve for your initial customers? And I suppose, how did you discover that there was a problem?
So first of all, we knew the problem because we're ex-Navy and we knew the Navy problems. So it's very simple. Period. Full stop. It's very classic. Founder goes out from an industry he knows. Stop goes out to solve the problem he knows. Okay. So that's very simple. Navies were our first customers. Government were our first customers. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. That's the reality. So we knew the problem firsthand. The problem is big oceans, small ships, really hard to figure out what's happening. When you go out to sail in a Navy vessel, you see 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles around you, and that's it. You do not know what happened yesterday. You do not know you don't even know what's normal. You see a tanker next to you. You don't even know if it's supposed to be there or it's not supposed to be there. You take screenshots of the last 3 times a Navy vessel was there, and this is how you should know, which is very old. So we went out to solve that problem first. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. That's the reality. Probably from year 1, we had customers. So this company has been generating revenue from year 1. I think in the beginning it was a country in Southeast Asia, then it was Israel, then it was Angola joined. But for many, many years, we knew we had a product market fit for governments. It was very slow.
So your first customers were governments?
Our first customers were governments, yes. And I think for 7 or 8 years, we could only get governments as customers. We couldn't get a good product market fit practically for anybody else. And we looked for it, but it's not really easy. You need to figure out other industries. This was industry we knew. Figuring out the oil trading industry, if you're not a trader, is a different focus, I think. So I think from 2011, where we built the company, to 2018 or 2019, we only had government customers.
So how has the product evolved over that time? I guess every business grows one client at a time and you respond to feedback and you add more functionality. How has that process evolved over the last 10 years?
From now or from there?
From back there, yeah.
From back there, I think, again, these were very early days in terms of data. It was very hard to connect all the dots. Some people didn't want to sell us data. So companies like IHS Markit was acquired by S&P, or Lois Intelligence, and all these people didn't want to do business with us. It was really hard just getting the data. Just getting people to give you something was very hard. They were like, no, who are you? I don't want to do business with you. We raised, I think, $1.5 million from an angel and then $5 million more. But I think always our plan was to expand beyond governments. We kept trying. I think we succeeded now, but back then we just kept trying, ongoing and ongoing. I've seen it's persistent. So I failed hundreds of times, not once, not twice, not dozen, hundreds of times. I've gone to business trips hundreds of times and haven't delivered a single value. So from 2010 to 2018, we just accumulated very slowly more government customers, and we try to build products. We try to build an oil trading product. We get to a POC. I don't think we understood the problem deeply enough. So we got to the right customers, but then they told us, hey, can you deliver us this product? We just couldn't. Technically, we couldn't. The team was very smart. People were very good. I think building from Israel to an industry that is not in Israel is very hard because the talent density, people don't understand the problem. Now that we're a global company, we have almost 25 people in London, we have people in the US, we have people in India, we have people in Ukraine, we have people in Israel, right? So now I have here in London industry experts who work for me, who help me understand the problem. By the way, after a year, I think we already understand the problem better. But to ramp up, we got into supply chain. We hired 3 or 4 experts with 15 years of experience each. And they tell you, oh, these customers think it this way, and they give you the data and the problems and so forth. I think it was very hard to do that from Israel. Israel is very good with security stuff. Sorry, supposed to be very good in security stuff. We can debate that. So you have talent density if you want to build for governments. You have companies like Cognite and Elbit and Variant and IEI and all these things. But if you want to build for oil trading, it's a different ballgame, I think. And then the product evolved. The product evolved because we brought in more imagery, radar images, optical images, more satellites, more databases. And so that's on the one hand. The other hand, we kept on exploring for more use cases. Oh, we can go into marine insurance. We can go into oil trading. We can do into compliance.
So in terms of moving away just from governments and government agencies into actually having real commercial customers who are extracting value from the product, what are the functionalities that they really value? What's the positive feedback that you really get? I'm kind of thinking from 2018 onwards, really.
So I think what happened in the world is shipping became a thing. The President Trump, I think it was, that decided that he wants to put on quote unquote maximum pressure on Iran. That made the State Department in the US adopt something we've been working on with the UN Security Council called deceptive shipping practices, which is basically how does Iran and North Korea and all these like hide oil. It's still very topical because now Russia is doing it. Only not oil, but everything. And then one of our customers, who's still a customer, called North. That's an insurance company here in the UK. They merged with another PNI company. Doesn't matter. Insurance company. They asked us, hey, could you help us with this compliance thing? And we said, what compliance thing? Hey, but let's talk about it. I think that was the genesis of us going from security to compliance. I would say they're close brothers. So if you help the government figure out who's smuggling, or you help, an energy major understand if this vessel was smuggling, it's kind of the same smuggling, right? At least very similar. So I think that was an easy segue, an easier evolution. And then we signed up one of the energy majors, BP, as the first design partner for that. I think from there, it all opened up a bit from 2018-19. And from just doing compliance, we expanded. We have some marine insurance customers doing actuarial analysis with our data. And then we expanded logistics and BI and bunkering. And I think now we're doing a bit of other things as well. But I think we had to get that in because remember, this is an industry with old school players who have been delivering value for the last 300 years. So you need to bring new value every day.
Well, it's quite striking for a company of your size. You've got a very prestigious customer list, obviously, the agencies and governments early on, and now some big multinational companies. How do you penetrate some of those customers? Because they're notorious for being bureaucratic and difficult to access and multiple points of contact within them. Was it just a question of persistence?
Yeah, I think Jeremy called me an extrovert in the beginning of the podcast, right? I think it helps. I think because we didn't really break through until a couple of years ago, and you have this energetic DNA, you kind of go at it. And no is just temporary, I think. Before we signed up BP, I traveled to London. We had a WhatsApp group for every travel, and I counted them after we signed them up. I had 16 trips to London to close BP. 16 trips. I think for 2 or 3 years, I spent a week in Israel and a week in London. Week in Israel, a week in London. I would fly in on Sunday, Monday, and I'd go back on Thursday, Friday. So, which is quite taxing, I think. So I think that leaning in really helps. And I think it's persistence over time. Most people think of a company as a binary outcome. You either succeed or you don't succeed. I don't think of life as a binary outcome. And I think it was founder of Zoom said this. Valuation is just like yesterday. It's temporary. Tomorrow it can be triple. Who cares? I try to enjoy the journey. I'm very proud of what we've built. I'm very bullish of what we are building. I know what the customers need. I think we know what we're building.
It seems that the company's been on this evolution from taking raw data, turning it into insights, penetrating more compliance regulatory markets, and then moving on to actually being embedded in the workflow clients, which is the place to be. So, just looking at when you floated, you had just over 70 clients, now over 200. I think you've talked about perhaps there are 250,000 clients around the world could use your services. How on earth do you address such a big market opportunity?
First of all, I think it's a good question. I think we're at the tipping point of the company's lifetime. And the reason is very simple. It's financial. So the company, as we said to investors all along, is expected to become run rate break even on an EBITDA basis by the end of the year, which means you start generating cash. And that cash you pump it in back to the business. So we actually are not dependent on investors anymore. People can invest, they cannot invest. That's okay. It's their decision. But we don't need that to live, right? I think it's a very important point. So I think if you look at how you go about it, I think there's a few ways. I think first and foremost, this is a product-centric company. For me, it's all about product. Sales, marketing, we can do that. That's okay. Product is the gold dust. That's the secret sauce. It really is very hard to crack. And I spend a lot of my time on products. I would say 50+% of my time goes on either hands-on Gen AI or hands-on product, which means what do the customers want? What are we building? What's the value prop? What's the workflow? What's the user experience? Yada, 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 all that stuff. So I think that's the key thing. At a high level, if you think about it, we've been growing 35% year over year in H1. We've said it, and last year we said it as well, which is pretty nice. But most of that has been coming from new customers. So my goal is to build a product portfolio, which I think is actually we're right on track of doing, to grow about 30% from existing customers and 30% from new customers. Because our existing customers' growth wasn't good enough so far. And the reason is product. We need more products to give them, Think about you going for an Apple shop. You go and you buy an iPhone. That's it. If they don't have more products to sell you, the next time you're going to see them in 4 years' time, if you don't need another pair of AirPods. So for me, that's the key. And really our focus this year is moving from a product company to a portfolio company, making sure we have multiple products to support our customers with. UI products, API products, Gen AI products, doesn't really matter, I think. You want to make sure if you're focused on the top 50 customers and grow with them. So I think that's number one. And so number two is just geography. We've expanded our coverage of the US, and next year you would see us probably in Asia as well. So you increase your geographical coverage from predominantly EMEA to US, EMEA, Asia. So think of it as a matrix of more products and more sales coverage. And lastly is, I think the brand. I think you need to make sure you build like a premium brand. People come and trust you and work with you. And I think we've seen a great push in inbounds, which is great. It's a great pull from inbounds. In the last few months, I think we're seeing the brand really come through. And I think that's also where our partnership with AWS is very important to us, because I think customers need a lot of help with their data today. And I think there's a gap between the cloud providers and these customers.
So just talking about your competitive environment, which is fragmented, but you include some big names. You've already mentioned, I think, IHS, and there's Lloyd's List, I can think, but
small names, by the way, it's not big names.
Okay, small names. Okay.
Why am I calling them small names? Am I just fresh? Am I just don't understand what I'm saying? No, revenue-wise, right? Lloyd's List Intelligence is a $50 million business. They're not my comparable. My comparable is Palantir. My comparable is not Kepler or LLI or S&P or Vesson. They're all great companies. Yeah, I respect them. Really, I really respect them. They have good customers. We think of ourselves, of the next evolution of our company, as comparable to Palantir, not comparable to any one of them. I am not interested. I think the opportunity, if you want to build hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, you need to go after something bigger. If you want to sustain 30, 40, 50% growth a year, which I do, absolutely do. I think we have the capacity to do. You need to go after something bigger. LLI or S&P, LLI grows whatever. How much? 6, 7, 8% a year. You need to go 50. But in the end, the CEO will be almost as big as them.
So what's your edge against Palantir if you're pitching to a potential customer?
I think we're more specialized. I think Palantir, their size, they need to go after huge problems.
Yeah.
It's huge, gigantic. If it's not like $50 million a year, just don't talk to me. It's not worth like picking up the phone. Yeah. They're gigantic, and I know them very well. Right? By the way, I respect it. I didn't say competitor. I said comparable. It's not the same. I don't think we compete for the same business.
Okay.
I think if you think about what we're building a data platform with public and commercial data and customer data, which is AI and Gen AI centric. In that sense, I think my customers today have a huge problem translating their own data to a business benefit. And I think we're more focused. We're more focused on shipping and logistics. So I can go in and speak to whatever head of logistics at any forwarder in the world and the COO of any forwarder, and we'll have like things to chat about. We can talk about their contracts and non-standard contracts and what he can do with them and how they can get more revenue and so forth. So again, it's a big market. How much Palantir makes a year? $1 billion of revenue? $1.2 billion? Is it all the AI revenue in the world is Palantir? Probably not, right?
No, sure.
But I think, Jeremy, it's really important to say and think about who's your comparable in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's very informative. If you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe via your usual podcast platform, or maybe leave a review or share it with a friend or colleague. If you have any suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi, then drop me a message at inthecompanyofmavericks.com. How important is culture?
Culture is very simply how things are done around here. That's it. Take an employee 2 weeks in. How are things done around here? In the earlier days of the company, I didn't think it was my thing to solve. I do think it is right now. Absolutely. The CEO owns the culture, because the CEO is the only one to change the culture, by the way. In that sense, if in the beginning, I told you I showed up a minute ahead of time and you said, hey, great for you to show on time. And I said, I show on time because I respect your time. I do this also in the company. I always show on time. I always come prepared 100% of the time. I always send prep materials to people I meet, and I always follow up. I always read thoroughly, and my SLA with anyone who employs or my employees or customers is 24 hours. Within 24 hours, I will always reply to what you say. I will write. I will always read your materials, and I will always think thoughtfully of them. I will always find time for what you need. I put customers at the center of what we do. I think they're the important ones. We're not the important ones. And I always think that the CEO is the glass ceiling of the company. So I think if I don't evolve, I will stop the company and I'm no longer the right CEO. So I don't think I need to be the CEO because I have bright blue eyes. I don't. But I think it's because you have a vision of what the customers need and how to get it.
Ami, let's talk about the future and let's come back to AI. You're serving a market that to an outsider seems very odd in many ways. International trade and logistics, many jurisdictions, lots of counterparties, lots of working capital, very odd processes. The AI and the speed of computational change is a big opportunity to change that and actually release a lot of value for your customers and the various parts of the food chain. But obviously, bigger market opportunity, more competition. How do you make sure that you get your fair share of that market as it evolves?
I think it's one way to look at it. I think the other way to look at it is it's a very old school market that has not been deriving the benefits of AI and technology over the last 10 years. If you talk to bankers, and I talk to all bankers, because, they teach me things about the market, about the structure, about this, about that. They will all tell you about digitalization. So first of all, I think a good question mark is, what is the market? Because when people say maritime, usually I'm not sure they fully understand what they say. They usually think about shipping companies like in their brain. If you look at our revenue, about 2/3 of it is public sector and a third is private sector. We serve about 14 verticals, from insurance to banking to forwarders to logistics to navies to coast guards to port authorities and so forth. Okay. And by the way, it's very typical in our market. This is a market with about 1,000 companies operating in. Don't catch me if it's like 800 or 900 or 1,000, but it's north of 500 for sure. And I think the reason is that people have built a lot of point solutions over the years. And by the way, that's big companies. And I think kudos to Kepler has built a very big company very fast. Well done. Francois is a great CEO there. I think they've been consolidating a lot of solutions. And I think it's one way to go at it. So get a high valuation, get money, and buy things. We're not there yet. We might be there, but not there yet. I think another way is to build products to deliver net new value to grow organically or combine both. I think you're probably long term, you probably need to combine both of them, which I'm very open to. So first of all, I think you should think about 2 ways. Number one, are there net new needs you can go after? And number two, what does generative AI do for this market? So net new needs, I think, yes, compliance with net new needs, new regulation. We have BI products, you'll see the back end of the year, some new launches from us. But my view, the generative AI materially changes our opportunity. I'll explain why. All of our customers have unstructured data, PDFs, Excel sheets, JSONs, Word documents, emails, chats, WhatsApps. They've never touched. They just have not structured it. And suddenly comes in this generative AI technology and allows somebody to help them to do this. I hope to be this somebody. This was not possible until 6 months ago. My view is when the world changes, you either change with it or you die. Nokia died. As I said in the beginning, almost died once. I have no intention of doing it again. Not from a business perspective or a personal perspective, but that's okay. I don't like dying. It's not my thing, really. And I think if you lean in and understand that and work with your customers, I think you can evolve the company. In my view, we've built a platform that by the end of this year has a great tech platform, has a lot of data, has 200 or whatever plus customers. It has the technology and has the vertical expertise. Now the question is, how do you 10x that company? And I think if you look at a company like WiseTech in Australia, it's worth, I think, 30 billion right now or something. It's a founder in the logistics business. It took 30 years to build. It's worth 30 billion because they understood the problem of logistics in a way people didn't and built a TMS, transport management system called CargoWise, which is amazing. It's an amazing product. So I think if you build a good company, your financials are right, you start pumping in cash because of your revenue, you can pump it back to build more products and go more to market. just keep growing and growing and growing. And I think, we've gone through the hard bit. We've gone through the hard bit of you have no customers, you have no capital, you have no brand, nobody wants to talk to you. You're a private small company. I've gone through all of that, right? This is now the fun bit about how you 10x the company. No problem. Bring it on, man. It's great.
Yeah, it sounds like you're moving into that world of being in a virtuous cycle.
Yeah, I think, listen, sometimes in your life, this should happen, this should come. It took me 14 years. It's okay. So many people are like, success, there's overnight success. I didn't get overnight success. We earned our right to compete and build a world leader.
Is there going to be a moment where some people are going to die because they haven't adopted it and others will succeed because they have? Or is this just going to be an imperceptible process of change and demarcation?
So first of all, I think this revolution, which my view is a revolution, we're not there yet, but if you think a few years into the future, it will be a revolution. We'll benefit from people who have more data because, garbage in, garbage out. But also people, they're sitting on this proprietary data they're just not using yet. So we have proprietary data, which that's what benefits us to build good products. And we've launched this product called My Expert. It's the first generative AI agent. People love it. They're already buying it. I was surprised how fast they're buying it, I have to say. I think it opens up a whole slot of really, really interesting automation conversations with our customers. It just brings up their imagination, sparks it up and says, oh my God, you can do this. What else can you automate for my business? So I think that's cool. So I think in this space, the bigger companies will benefit more because they have more data. But I think equally is that what I see is a lot of companies deploy that for trading. I'm not sure that shipping and logistics is like bang on the money for all these departments. But anyway, let's see where it goes. My view, generative AI, we already have a business that's growing 35%, let's say 30%. We went to market, by the way, was at 20 to 30. My view, Gen AI gives me an opportunity to push that up to a steeper path where it's not 20 to 30, it's 35 or 40 or 50. Okay. That's it. And because you're independent in terms of cash generation, then the more you sell, the more you can pump into the business, right? That's how it works in life. And an 80+% margin, and the margin probably go up as you grow. You can easily get to 50, 60, 70, $80 million of business at 85% margin and generate $20, $30 million of cash. You can pump into the business. I don't think that's like a hallucination. Whether or not people in the UK market already see it, people will see it when they'll see it. I'm not worried about that. I'm only worried about two things, products and revenues. Products and revenues. All the rest will solve itself. They'll be fine.
Given you have so many opportunities in front of you, I guess prioritization is quite a difficult thing to do, right? Because I suppose at different times, different areas seem more exciting. Do you have to be quite fluid in how you think about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a constant journey. I don't think I have like this is the solution. I think being customer led is very important. So I think we've really, really built a system to give customers a path to sign up before everything's ready. And I think if people sign up, that gives you an indication. So I try not to build before I have people signing up. However, that means we spend a lot of time on mockups, user stories, demos, visuals, POCs. And after that, we sometimes end up, we have product we haven't announced yet, should announce that in H2, which is very exciting. Gen AI native, built from the ground up, integrated customer data, amazing. We literally built a POC and threw it down the trash. Every single piece of code we built for the POCs, we threw it down the trash because we built it in the fastest possible way to get the value to the customers. And okay, it will cost a bit of money. But now when we're building the general availability production grade product, we managed to build it on an ongoing basis with AI at less than a tenth of the cost of the POC. There's a bunch of books about how you read, like how you build products and 6 customers and all that. So Marty Kagan is really, I think, the lighthouse of how you build tech products and cross the chasm. The Chasm is a very good book that talks about it. So we literally do it by the book. So the answer is customer led. There are a few things that are always moving, right? Your competitors are moving on the chessboard. We need to look at that. Their products are moving on the chessboard. What the customers want is moving on the chessboard. What the technology allows you is moving on the chessboard. And your pipeline is moving on the chessboard. Make sense?
Yeah.
And your platform is really moving on the chessboard as well. So once a quarter, the management's job is really to synthesize all of that and says, okay, what does this all mean? What does it mean for us? And I think also present that to the board to have proper governance, which I think we did.
I guess 10 years ago, the challenge was penetrating new customers and getting people to listen to you. presumably now you have a lot of incoming, people that want to partner with you, and you would talk about AWS and LSEG. Do you see more of those partnerships going forward?
I have to say, we have a bit of experience in doing these like partnerships. Most of these partnerships don't make money. That's the reality. Most of these partnerships, people announce something, they have an announcement, there's a press release, and nothing happens. So I think we want to have less partnerships, but more of these that make money versus more partnerships that don't make money. So I can tell you, I'm spending a lot of time in the AWS team myself, 10% of my time. So I go to conferences, I speak to them, I talk to their executives, we go to customers, because I think you need to have a thesis. My thesis is this market will be transformed by customers' ability to generate value out of their data and combine them with the physical reality that we have. That's my thesis. So if you think that's your thesis, spend time on your thesis. Don't randomly just do things or don't do things. So,
yeah, that makes sense. Let's switch gears and talk about London. You floated here in 2021. How have you found being listed on the London market? I guess it's good for profile, perhaps helpful to have some external pressure in terms of prioritizing the decisions that we talked about. But, how's the experience been?
Yeah, first of all, I got to say, it makes you a better CEO because you're constantly being scrutinized. And you're scrutinized repetitively over a lot of data points that I didn't necessarily know at that level. Right now, I know every single thing in the business, every margin, every deal, going up, going down, G&A, S&M, blah, 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 right? When you run a private company, you don't really need to do that. You're kind of more product and revenue, and other people will take care of that. So that makes you a better CEO. It makes you a more disciplined company. I think discipline has been good for us. You can't splash as much as you would like, I think, otherwise. So I think these two very good things. I think it helps with customers and helps with profile. That's the good things. And hey, let's be fair. There was a bunch of cash injection. So we're done. We're past the tipping point. We're going to be there next 2 months. And we couldn't be here if not for the support of the London market investors. We're very grateful for that. So I think in all these things, there was a very good experience.
Any negatives?
The negatives are, it's not easy being a public company. It's not easy being a small public company because you take on 10, 15, 20% of time you wouldn't have otherwise. Just the reality, right? It costs about $1 million in a year. And you need to spend time with bankers, with advisors, with
sorry about that. Yeah.
Yes, it's not sorry. It's and all of these things. And it takes time. That's the negatives.
Sure.
There's a measurement to your performance. And sometimes this measurement lags. So people are like, whoa, why is the stock at whatever, 100, 105, 103? Like, why is it not at 250?
There's another set of stakeholders, or maybe it's some just louder, more needy stakeholders that as a private company, you don't have to spend so much time worrying about. So I guess it puts pressure on how you allocate your time as the leader of the business.
Yeah. Again, I think I moved to London with my family because I think it allows me to interact more with investors, with customers. And
how have you found that?
Listen, we've been going back and forth for 8 or 9 years now. London's kind of our second home, was our second home before we came here. 3 years ago, we spent 4 months here. My kids know London. My wife knows London. We love London. I think it's a great city. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. It's very easy to do business from London. Everybody passes through London. You can go anywhere back in the day. So I think it's great. You have the media here. You have the bankers here. I think it's great for this side of the company. I think in the US, we would have been lost. With all due respect, a company that sells whatever, $37 million, it's irrelevant for the US. And I think companies who did a SPAC in the US with company these marks simply dying and all their equity values going to zero, basically, because you're not big enough so anybody to care.
Sure. No, I think that's a very valid point. That's interesting. And what about the operational challenges back home in Israel with your team, given these difficult times?
Yeah, first of all, it's been 10 months now. And maybe, by the way, it's a good opportunity. I think I'm not the government of Israel and I have no connection with them. But I think maybe just to show appreciation, the UK has been supporting Israel for many things, I think. And there's a lot of joint values. So it's just a note of appreciation of that. I think Israel is a resilient bunch.
Absolutely. That's for sure.
By the way, Ukrainians are also a resilient bunch.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
By the way,
we know it.
Greeks are also a resilient bunch because when they bombed the hell out of London in the Second World War, you guys didn't bend down and say, you know what? I think there are a few people, on the other side of the pond or the channel that did that. The Brits didn't say, you know what? We're tired of all this.
Yeah.
We want our tea time back. You said, we'll fight on the street, we'll fight on the fields, we'll fight at sea, we'll fight wherever until the last person is standing. So I think that resiliency, which I have a lot of respect for. And by the way, when I came here, the first thing I thought is to read Bojo's book about Churchill.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I was quoting it. But anyway, Bojo is just an amazing writer. I love his writing. I think he's very amusing as a writer.
I agree entirely. I can remember reading his articles in The Spectator, 30 years ago, and just thinking, who is this guy?
Amazing writer. And the amazing book about Churchill is very entertaining. Obviously, one of 1,000 books. So I think people are resilient when they don't have a choice. So Israel doesn't have a choice. What we tell our team and all the high-tech industry is, we're not the government. We're not dealing with security. We're not dealing with politics. It's not our place. Okay. Our place is to deliver technology, and we don't get any discounts from anybody. The UK investors or the US investors don't really care where you're from. They only care about one thing, that's results.
Yep.
That's what I tell my team, and that's what we deliver. Okay. Every quarter, like clockwork, I'm going back and spending a week with my team in Israel. They're going back here. They're coming here a lot, and we will deliver no matter what. Period. Full stop. Okay. If we need to hire a bit more outside of Israel, we do. We moved our HQ to London. I think it's important. I'm here in London. Our HQ right now is in London. We're diversifying like tech around the world, but is somewhere completely safe right now? Not sure about that. Not sure we can really predict what's going to happen. Well, I think this week I saw pictures of French and German equipment by Ukraine that invaded Russia. Now, you guarantee to me that Russia is not going to attack Germany or France or the UK because their equipment was used in invading Russia. I can't guarantee to you. You can't guarantee to me.
Absolutely.
So one place that looks very safe today can be unsafe tomorrow and vice versa. I think that's who we are. And therefore, the only thing that matters is resilience, is purpose, is execution, is the quality of your team, because you have no guarantees.
In terms of your company's ability to deliver those commercial objectives, what, if anything, keeps you awake at night? What worries you? What do you focus on? You don't seem to be like a man who's overburdened with negative thoughts.
No, I'm not. Which doesn't mean I'm not spending time on analyzing them.
Oh, sure.
I have a great CFO. I have a great board. My chairman is my mentor. I have a great privilege in that. We do proper risk analysis every month and every quarter on the management level, on the board level. We look at mitigation and so forth. I think our challenge are execution challenges. And you always have execution challenges, okay? This is just reality. I think our goals are more than achievable. You need to execute on sales, on customers, on product development. I'm more worried about execution challenges than anything else. I don't think there's any other material risk for the business, but it's growing 35% again. We're the number one grower in the UK stock market. Is that easy? No. If it was easy, all the other 5,000 companies were the number one, right?
Absolutely. So just got to keep it going.
So we need to keep it going every single day. Every single day. You need to push you to the next level every single day.
So given that your focus is on the execution and the operational, when you kick back and you just think about the long-term vision, we're not thinking about next quarter, next year,
Yeah.
10 years' time, what is this company? Is it going to be a FTSE 100 company? Are you going to be on NASDAQ? Are you going to be part of a media conglomerate? That's the structural thing, but just paint a picture, if you have one, of where you're going to be in a decade's time.
Yeah, first of all, I don't know. That's the reality. I think
No, sure, you don't know.
in today's case, a decade is too long.
Okay.
NVIDIA a decade ago, what they think about where they'll be, I'm not sure they will answer you where they are today. Okay? So that's the first. I think I can tell you 5 years. I can't tell you a decade from now. I'm not trying to negotiate the time. Just saying things are moving so fast in the world.
No, I get it.
I think it's presumptuous to say that you can look a decade into the future.
But if you look back a decade ago and you'd have said that it was sort of Web 2.0, wasn't it? It was really getting into its stride. Now it has to be coming back to generative AI. The Google, the Facebook, the Amazon of the AI era is within our midst right now. We just don't know who they are. Now,
Sure.
you're an obvious candidate.
So first of all, thank you. Appreciate that. I actually say I don't spend time on, it's not that I do just operational things. I spent most of my time since coming to London, about 6 months, reviewing every single part of our strategy, meeting with everybody. Following that, we've revised our strategy to what I told you. And I think the centerpiece of that is utilize our current assets in public and commercial data, keep growing them, expanding into customer unstructured data. That's a revision since I came to London, and building a product portfolio to grow our existing customers 20, 30%. And that's a big focus on top of our new customer growth. So these are all very important revisions and nuances of our strategy since I came to London, and our outcomes of that, I think, high intensity engagement with the markets. To come back to your question, we believe that if you properly go at it, you can build a very big company. I don't want to put a number here, but a very big company of hundreds of millions of revenue by combining the potential of the unstructured data and the customer data in the shipping and logistics in the public sector world with the commercial data. If you want, connecting atoms and bits for decision making. And I think that's the path we're on. In terms of capital markets, we're trading in London. That's what I can tell you. We have a lot of proposals, which we decline all the time. I believe in the place for this company on an independent basis. Do I have investors? Yes. Am I an investor in the company? Yes. Okay. And my first mentor told me in the world, I don't say no to a proposal I haven't received. So let's not discuss theoretical questions. We're in the UK market. I think the UK market is a good place to be at. I think the UK is on its way up. I appreciate the riots and all that as a bump in the road. I think as an economy, politically, it's more stable. I think hopefully the government will come through with the reforms they're trying to do in October and make pensions invest more in the UK stock market because everybody's money here. The UK has the second biggest pool in the world of long-term capital. And you're not investing it in your own stock market. So I don't get that.
We're very modest people. We don't like to keep it all to ourselves. It's crazy, isn't it? It's just crazy.
It's just crazy.
Absolutely.
You're just in a pole position to take a very good leadership position in generative AI.
Yeah.
You need to do it. Okay? You need to do it. That's why we came here. I think it's a good market to be in for our size. Now, later down the road, if you go to be a FTSE 100 or if you do list, I don't know. The markets change all the time. Build a big company, which is profitable and growing. No, it's very simple. My model is a rule of 40. That's where I want to get to. No promises. A rule of 40 company, which is EBITDA plus growth equals 40%, is broadly saying 8 to 10 times the ARR in the world. That's the world. If I can get there, everybody will be happy. Now, let's look at reality.
Happy days.
So I think at least we have a shot at it. Okay? We can agree. If we're growing 35%, we need to be break even. You have a shot at being a rule of 40 company. We can agree on that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the focus. Very clear. Does that make sense?
It does. So, Ami, you're a young and successful tech entrepreneur. What advice would you give your younger self?
First of all, it's good that you marry the right wife. That's the most important decision in your life. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I think I would like a bit more scrutiny and closer mentorship like I'm getting from our chairman in the last few years, because I think it would have saved me a bunch of time. I think that's like young people need somebody to work with them. And I didn't get that enough as I'm getting right now. By the way, I still think of myself as the young person. I'm 40. So no, I think
you're with two stock market dinosaurs. So you're the epitome of youth and optimism.
Yeah. And I think also I would probably embed myself earlier in the market, like I live right now in London. I think it's just easier.
Well, we've been chatting for an hour. It feels like 20 minutes. I think it's absolutely fascinating. Enjoyed every second of it. Thank you so much for your time. Windward is firmly on my watch list. I will follow your progress with great interest, and hopefully in the not too distant future, we can catch up for another conversation.
Thank you very much for having me, Jeremy Marcus. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully energetic and inspiring. Remember, we're never a finished product, and the best is yet to come. So really appreciate your time.
Brought to you by Progressive Equity.